the resident survey. I'm going to talk about just the overall image and awareness that New Jerseyans have of Rutgers. So the first question we asked was, name a college or university in the tri-state area. And as you know, we're in New Jersey, so the tri-state area actually includes 5 states. So depending on what part of the state you're in. But we wanted to make sure, you went one too far there. There we go. There we go, that's it. Step. So we wanted to make sure, I kind of get a sense of where Rutgers was in terms of top of mind among a lot of competitors, including such high-profile names as NYU and Penn State and Princeton and so forth. And you can see nearly 2/3 of New Jerseyans, when we ask them, name a college or university, it comes to mind named Rutgers. Rutgers is right there in their frontal lobe when they think of higher education. And the next highest mention was Princeton at 27%. So you can see how kind of it just falls off beyond that. I mean, when people think of higher education in New Jersey, they think of Rutgers. 80% are familiar with Rutgers, 78% know it's the state university. So there's a little work to do with the other 22% who don't. But these are really high numbers. This is a sense that Rutgers is an intrinsic part of the fabric of New Jersey. Next slide. And when we asked them what they think about when they hear the word Rutgers, it was really all over the place, except for the fact that it is tied to the state, that it is built into the state fabric. But beyond that, we had some people mention education things. We had people mention specifically different campus locations. We had people mention sports. Those mentions were all over the place, which is actually a good thing, because you should see that as a strength. It means that Rutgers isn't kind of pigeonholed as this is the school you go to for X. It is more of, this is a school where I can see a connection, that there's something about it that I connect to, that it serves, and considering the fact that New Jersey is the most densely populated state in the country, and arguably the most, or at least one of the most diverse states in the country, the fact that they see an institution that they can connect to from all walks of life is a strength that you should be thinking about. All right, next slide. All right, so then we asked, what do you think of Rutgers? And we found 77% have a favorable view of Rutgers. Just about 1 in 10, a little over 1 in 10 have an unfavorable view, and another 1 in 10 don't know enough to rate Rutgers. That favorable to unfavorable rating is extremely high. When we ask them to compare Rutgers to peer institutions, 60% rank Rutgers above its peers, including 22% say it's one of the best universities they know. And when we looked at this regionally across the state, and we broke the state into 7 regions, which basically conform to the different cultures of New Jersey. I've been using this, I developed this about 25 years ago, and I've been using it, it still applies ever since. What's interesting about these regions is that 3 of the regions really kind of circle around the 3 campuses of Rutgers. But what we found is that regardless of where you are in the state, that favorable opinions of Rutgers range from 69% to 84%. The highest, the 84%, are in the Delaware Valley region around Camden, and in the Route 1 corridor region around New Brunswick. The urban core region, which is this region, Essex-Hudson, the numbers were 76%, so it's a couple points lower. But when we actually started digging into some of the other things that we saw, there are certain things that this region actually values about Rutgers that are significantly higher than we see in other regions, specific aspects. And that gets back to what I was saying about Rutgers isn't a monolith. It serves different purposes for different constituencies, and people see that connection. Go on to the next slide. Okay, so we asked some specific questions about Rutgers people and programs. So we wanted to break out just to see what they thought, to the extent that they knew that. The favorable to unfavorable ratios that we saw were very high. They ranged from 4-1 for Rutgers faculty and professors, 46% favorable, 12% unfavorable, the rest don't know, to 12-1 for Rutgers graduates I have worked with, which is 61% favorable to 5% unfavorable. You can see those unfavorable numbers are very low across the board, where they're talking about current Rutgers students, affiliated healthcare providers, outreach programs, their land grant programs, and so forth. Those ratios are extremely high among those who know about these programs or these groups of people. Next slide. Obviously, this is in the news recently, and we did ask a couple of questions about Rutgers membership in the Big Ten Conference. And what specifically we wanted to look at was whether people saw this overall as a positive or negative. And when we posed this question, we got significantly more positive than negative responses in terms of how membership in the Big Ten Conference has an impact on Rutgers' reputation for high quality education. And we found 39% saying being part of the Big Ten actually helps Rutgers. 8% think it hurts the university, and 42% have no opinion. And there are no notable differences demographically among in this opinion. So overall, this, the question that I know is raised about the Big Ten outside of athletics is what's its impact in other aspects. As far as the New Jersey public is concerned, the impact is significantly more positive than negative on its overall reputation as a high level academic institution. Next slide. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the importance of Rutgers' mission. And we asked 15 specific mission-related questions. Should Rutgers be doing this? How important is Rutgers to do this? Plus a couple of other things that we throw in as well. Next one. So the first set, and I broke these 15 items into different categories. So the first category is student experience. So we asked, how important is it that Rutgers does this? So the first one we have is provide students with skills they need to get a good job after graduation, which is the core function of any university. We have 85% said it's either extremely or very important. And that was on a 5-point scale: extremely, very, somewhat, not very, or not at all. All right, so I'm showing the top two points in that scale. So we had 56% said extremely important and 29% somewhat important, for a total of 85% who said this is important. This, unsurprisingly, is, of all the items we asked, the highest ranked item. The next highest ranked item is provides a well-rounded education to help students become critical thinkers. The liberal arts argument of universities' mission. We also asked about providing experiences that encourage students to become more civically engaged. That became that's like in the second tier. When I get to the conclusion, I'll talk about top tiers and lower tiers. This is kind of a second tier priority for New Jersey residents about what Rutgers should be doing. Okay, next slide. We also asked, aside from the mission, about discussion of controversial topics, which is something that's affecting college campuses all across the country. And we weren't sure exactly how this played out, so we asked it 4 different ways. Should students be able to have access to and discuss controversial information and topics, both in the classroom and out of the classroom? And then we asked the same thing for faculty, in the classroom and out of the classroom. You can see overall, a majority of New Jerseyans think it's important that Rutgers allows this discussion and fosters a space for this discussion to happen for all of these different circumstances. Although there's some slight differences between whether it's students in the classroom or faculty outside of the classroom. So if it's students in the classroom, it's 70%. And then if it's faculty outside the classroom, it's 60%, still a majority, but there are slight differences there. When we dig into what's driving those differences, it's really politics and partisanship. The difference there is based on how you align partisanly in the world. So that's where the impact is coming from on that question. Go to the next slide. So let's move on to teaching and research because we focused on that. But we want to just focus on, how important is it that Rutgers have a high quality set of faculty. First thing we started out with was being a leading center for cutting edge research in healthcare and medicine. That was 79% who said that was important. And then we asked about different types of faculty, those in STEM areas, those in professional areas, and those basically in the liberal arts. We found significant majorities, over 2/3. And again, the difference between, say, STEM and liberal arts, 78% versus 60%, 67%, excuse me, is again driven by a partisan difference. There's no other demographics that really drive that difference other than partisanship. And that ties into this controversial discussion of topics, I think, there. That number there that you see, a leading center for cutting edge research in healthcare and medicine, that is going to be one of our top tier items as when we summarize this in the end. And I'll get to that when we talk about external programs, which we're going to get to in a second. We also asked about access and opportunity. How important is this to Rutgers' mission? Specifically, providing the opportunity for students from families with limited resources to earn a college degree. 74%, 45% very extremely important, 29% very important. This bumps this up into a tier 1 priority for New Jersey residents. And then we also asked specifically about undertaking recruitment efforts geared towards first-generation students in those communities where it's not always presented to them that a college education is attainable. That was 63%. And the key there, I think, is that it's a little lower, but it's still, again, at 63%. That puts that in a tier just below. And I think we asked both these questions because we see them as connected, but there are some folks out there who don't see those two connected. So that's a communications challenge that you have to think about going forward. Next slide. We move on now to New Jersey, it's Rutgers being embedded in the fabric of New Jersey. And the question we asked, provide opportunities for New Jersey high school students to be able to stay in state to get a good college education, 79%, including 52%, extremely important. That makes it a top tier concern. It's tied to a question that we ask, and I'll show in a second, about state funding for Rutgers. Contributing to improving the quality of life for all New Jersey residents, 71%, so that makes it just below in a tier 2. And we'll talk about some of those things when we talk about public service. The top of all the different public service programs that we asked about, the top one that raises it kind of into a tier 2 category is providing public health and safety programs that benefit New Jersey residents. Now, obviously, this is a broad category, but this is an area where New Jerseyans think Rutgers should be playing a role in the life of the state. Now, I think it should be playing a role in a lot of areas. This is the one that rose to the top in terms of priorities. Other areas include K-12 education, public policy formation, lifelong learning, and technical business assistance there, which again, all majorities are saying that this is important. Just if you rank order them, the public health and safety comes out at the top. All right, now, Rutgers is a state asset. So we're going to take those questions about mission and specifically pose them about different ways that the state should be supporting Rutgers and the way people see Rutgers fitting into this state. So 73% say that state government investments in Rutgers pay dividends for all of New Jersey. 81% agree that state government should financially support Rutgers to retain New Jersey students. I said that ties into that top priority that they see as part of Rutgers' mission. And so now we have a question that basically where the public is saying that absolutely the state should be supporting Rutgers in order to make that happen. So as a summary here, New Jersey residents say that Rutgers provides value to the Garden State, deserves financial support to fulfill its mission, and it's seen as multidimensional. There's no one thing that a majority of people attach to their view of Rutgers, their image of Rutgers. It serves a lot of different purposes. And to that end, we actually asked a question about, when you think of Rutgers, what campus do you think of? Now, not surprising, 67% think of the New Brunswick campus, but 13% say Rutgers Newark. That's what Rutgers means to them. 8% said Camden, and even 1% said Rutgers Health is how they think of Rutgers. And when we took that kind of that lens through which they look at Rutgers and looked at some of the other answers to their questions, we see that those, for example, in Newark and Camden, and especially Newark, that those are the people who even value things about Rutgers' outreach to the community, like public health programs and so forth, even higher than the state as a whole. So those who attach themselves to those campuses, either through their own personal experience, maybe they went there or have a family member who went there, or they live in close proximity to those campuses, see Rutgers as really contributing to the life of the community in a strong way. All right, so let's turn to the business survey. And you're going to see a lot of the same themes come out of the business survey as well. So when we ask if they're familiar, most are familiar. When we ask that question, that open-ended question about what's the first thing that comes to mind when you think of Rutgers, we get almost the same set of answers, except they're a little higher on talking about some specific programs than the public as a whole. When we ask them what their views, we have 94% of businesses have a favorable view of Rutgers. Again, more than 9 in 10 New Jersey businesses have a favorable view of the state university, including 58% very favorable, 36% somewhat favorable. That's just a huge number. We asked similar questions about different aspects of Rutgers. And again, Rutgers graduates I have worked with, 81% favorable, 2% unfavorable. And we asked about faculty, we asked about business schools, law schools, so forth. And again, that positive to negative ratio is off the charts in terms of if they have an opinion of these particular aspects, it's a favorable one. Now we ask businesses about Rutgers' contribution to the state, and we specifically asked a question about its contribution to the economic vitality of the state. 79% say it contributes, including 45% a great deal, 34% some. And among the different industry sectors, we see professional services and IT businesses are most likely to say Rutgers contributes a great deal. 66% of this group actually say that. This number is even, we asked the same question of the general public. I didn't show that slide. This number is even higher than it is for the general public, which was already high in terms of that contribution. So businesses are even more likely than the public as a whole to see Rutgers as an economic driver for the state of New Jersey. And as I mentioned, there are certain businesses that sectors that even rank this higher. One of the correlates with that, particularly with the professional services and IT, is that they're also more likely to report that they've hired Rutgers students in their workforce, or Rutgers graduates, I should say. And so that direct connection, or the direct evidence that these Rutgers alum present, are the best ambassadors for saying, you know, we really need Rutgers in the state. And I'll have a couple more on that in a second. All right. New Jersey businesses see Rutgers' mission as important. So we asked an abbreviated version of that mission battery that we asked in the survey, in the general public survey. And we got pretty similar results. The top tier includes providing job skills and helping students become critical thinkers and providing opportunities for students with limited resources. Those are the things that businesses value, which is the same exact thing as what the public say should be at the top of Rutgers' list. All right, now I mentioned that businesses that have hired Rutgers Rutgers graduates as their employees are more likely to have higher opinions. So we asked some specific questions about their interaction with Rutgers directly. So the first question is about those Rutgers graduates. 32% currently employ Rutgers graduates, 32% of the businesses that we surveyed. Another 27% said they have in the past. Looking just at those who currently employ Rutgers, currently employ Rutgers alumni, 9 in 10 say that the Rutgers graduates on their staff are above average among their employees, including 49% say they're among their very best employees. And when we ask them some specific aspects of what their employees bring, some of the top things that they mention are they're conscientious about getting the job done, they're trained with the necessary skills, and they're ready to do what is asked of them. That Rutgers alum bring grit to the job. They get down to work. We also asked that about students as well and interns, and got very similar results. Now we also asked a question about, next slide, about interacting directly with faculty members and using their expertise, drawing on their research, either for their business directly or through their industry, some industry group or so forth. And we find 35% of businesses say that they have this experience of dealing with faculty expertise. That includes anything from business solutions and subject matter expertise, mentoring or professional development, or hiring of students or graduates. Or they have some other direct kind of mentoring relationship or direct personal relationship with faculty. 96% say that this experience has been valuable to their business, including 76% who say very valuable. We asked a similar question about external programs. 27% said they've actually participated in, through their business or through their industry, external programs, outreach programs, services. This can include the kind of the land grant programs, but business school programs and so forth. They say HR, recruiting, health, agriculture, and legal are among those programs that they've drawn on. Among those who have had that kind of experience, again, 95% say that has been very valuable to their business, including 68% has been valuable, including 68% very valuable. So the key findings here, if we summarize both residents and business, are New Jersey's residents and businesses hold their state university in high regard. 77% of the general public, 94% of business owners have a favorable view of Rutgers. Both the general public and the business community see Rutgers as a contributor to New Jersey's economic vitality. And 3 in 4 residents say state government investment pays dividends for the entire state, not just those who are attached directly to Rutgers, but it has a spillover effect. Both the general public and the business community are very positive views. The more they interact with Rutgers, and it's generally through Rutgers alumni who they come in contact with, particularly in the workforce, the more likely they're positive about the university as a whole. The top priorities for Rutgers' mission among both residents and businesses are providing job skills, helping students become critical thinkers, and providing opportunities for students with limited resources. The second tier of priorities include having respected faculty across all the disciplines and in health science research, and providing that kind of the public programs that promote statewide public health and safety. So those are all that's in a summary. That's kind of the whirlwind tour of a lot of data that are in there. So I'm sorry that I kind of hit you with a lot of numbers, but we pared back quite a bit of what was in there to hopefully give you a sense of kind of where the public stands. The overall story, as you can see, is a very positive one. And the next step is communicating that in the way that needed to communicate that. I don't know whether you wanted me to take any questions at this point, but I'm happy to do so.
May I make a comment?
Yes.
You're speaking to a group that loves to brag about Rutgers, and you have put a lot of arrows in our quill with your summary today. And another comment, those people who hire Rutgers grads, my experience is that those grads go on to become stars in their chosen fields, leaders of the companies that hired them, and so on. Thank you very much for your discussions this morning. Any other questions, please?
Not a question, just a statement. So I don't know if you know, but Pat was the head of the Monmouth poll, which they shut down. My husband, who most of you know has been very involved in politics for a while, always trusts the Monmouth poll. I think it's because it's your Rutgers education, Pat, but thank you.
Yeah.
Bob.
Pat, thank you very much. This is merely an observation, extraordinarily positive view that people over 18 have as to Rutgers. I'm not certain that the same view is had by the population just below that. And I think that that's an issue for Rutgers, that the core of the best high school students who are 16 and 17 may not have the same perception. And it's just an observation, and I'm wondering what that perception would be if in fact that population was surveyed.
Yeah, that's a very good question. And one of the things that we would have liked to have looked at, or just, limited in what we could do, is while we weren't doing high school students, but like say parents of high school students, there weren't enough of them in the sample itself for us to break them out in terms of what was selling them on a university. But what you have here is, look, we talk to businesses and businesses say, man, we really like these Rutgers graduates who work for us. Give us more of them. Do high school students know that that's the case, is what your question is, and we don't know that answer. So that's a different research project. As I said, when we started this project, and I sat with the team when we started putting this together, is that we're going to have a lot of answers for you, but we're also going to develop a lot more questions as well as it goes on, and that's one of them.
Thank you.
We have two people with their hand up online. Let's start with Norm Edelman.
Thank you for a very useful and informative survey. My question is, do you have comparables? Do you know how other Northeast state universities do in similar surveys?
We don't have a good comparison. Most of the stuff is if it's done at all, and very few do it, remains internal. So we're left with just national surveys about higher education, and those they're not connected to reality, right? So they're about controversies or the political aspects of what higher education does. When you get down into a question like this, where we're asking, okay, this is very specific. This is your state university. How do you connect to it? And we find a much different story when we ask about something that they can directly see and hear. The one thing that I would love to see by asking in different states is that top of mind question, because the fact that 64% of New Jerseyans will just say Rutgers means it's ubiquitous. And I'm not sure, in Pennsylvania, the Penn State, obviously. In New York, it would be kind of interesting to see what would happen there, because I don't think they have that kind of. In fact, I think probably outside of the Big Ten, there's probably very few places where you would get that kind of sense of being part of the fabric of the entire state. So I'd be very comfortable in saying that Rutgers is certainly at the top of its peers in terms of the sense that state residents have, that there's some sense of ownership and connection with it.
One more from online, Dorothy Cantor, please.
Thank you. That was a very inspiring presentation. But my question is, who's going to hear about it besides us internally? There's data here that is phenomenal. And I think for lobbying purposes, perhaps even someday to get more money from the state, this is the kind of data we need to present. And so I wonder at what the plans are to use the information to promote what we need?
That's beyond my remit, so I'll throw that back to Mr. Chairman if somebody else on the Rutgers team wants to field that.
That's an excellent question. And I think based on the feedback that we've had from multiple committees, we'll take that information and work with our comms team to develop outreach and utilize it in our campaigns moving forward.
Thank you.
Well, if there are no other questions, oh, I'm sorry, Linda. Linda, microphone.
Hello?
You get to-
Sorry about that. A comment and a question. The comment is, well, first off, thank you so much for your survey. But it's so good to hear that people are thinking of Rutgers as more than just football in the Big Ten. Whenever you hear someone's like, oh, Rutgers shouldn't be in the Big Ten because of football, but they don't understand that it brings so much more to the university, research and all of that. So that's just my comment. So I'm really glad to know that people just don't think of football when they think of Rutgers. But my question is, when you were looking within the companies that were really excited to have Rutgers students, do we know what type of companies they were? Where were they pulling the students from? What areas of expertise were those students?
Yes, so it's a small sample, so it's very hard to break out the subgroups and exactly how they do in terms of their hiring. In the sample that we had, the professional services, legal, finance, as well as information technologies, were more likely to report that they had hired Rutgers students. And that's why it correlates with them also having even higher favorable opinions than everybody else. That, again, was one of the things, and I said this at the very start, it was probably one of the questions that we were going to have going forward, particularly in areas around like healthcare, where we didn't have a large healthcare base in our sample just because of there's so many employees. You know, the largest section of our base was retail because that's the largest section of in the business community. So that would require a kind of a targeted approach to, if you have a specific question about those types of employers and how we could connect better to them.
I think we have time for one more question, Mary.
Thank you. I'll be quick. Again, thank you for that presentation and the information. It was, it's really helpful. As the university synthesizes and thinks about this survey, it might be interesting to survey companies that may not be hiring Rutgers students. I don't know how you find them, but I think some of the things to think about, having been on the recruitment side of where I was employed, understanding what firms are looking for, what are the things that they're reaching out to, might be an important piece, data point to help, and also market the university, frankly, within the state.
I enjoyed your talk very much, and I want to thank you for coming here today and taking us through the survey results. Very, very impressive. Thank you very much.
And my pleasure. Thank you.
So now I would like to call on Chancellor Tanya Smith-Jackson for her report on the activities and successes at Rutgers University, Newark.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Rutgers University, Newark. Let me first apologize about the weather. Yes, it's been raining all morning. I've already talked to our faculty in environmental and climate science, and they're working on it right now. So they're going to solve that problem. We've got great talent here at Rutgers University, Newark. And thank you so much, Trustee Ken Johnson, and all of our trustees. Welcome to Rutgers University, Newark. So, you know, today, just want to remind the board, because I've mentioned this before, that we have three priorities that align with President Tate's expectations also for Rutgers University Newark. Last fall, I mentioned those 3 priorities, and one of them is R1 and achieving R1 status. Very important for us to do research expansion, to be a community engaged research institution. And so that's certainly one of our priorities. The second one, though, was about academic excellence. And academic excellence and academic distinction sort of go together. And the idea is that we want to make sure that we are focusing more intentionally on student success factors for the sake, of course, serving our students, but also for reasons of rankings. Because the more you do for your students, the more likely they are to graduate, the higher the graduation rates, then the higher your public rankings. And so as a public institution, Rutgers Newark right now is ranked 36th in the nation. And we, of course, have committed to being a top 30 institution. Personally, we need to be number 1. Okay, don't laugh. It will happen. It will definitely happen. We have the ambition. So today, though, I want to focus on, well, the third priority, by the way, is branding and visibility, something else that we need to focus on. Today, though, I'm going to focus on academic excellence or academic distinction. And I'm going to talk about primarily some of the factors that are associated with being able to design an institution that works for all of your students, okay? All right, first things first, I'm sure everybody in this room knows that Rutgers University Newark has never been a one-size-fits-all institution. We have complex designs because we serve a multitude of students who bring very different lived experiences. We're a minority serving institution. We're a Hispanic serving institution. We're designated for the first time as an opportunity institution. We've earned the seal of excellencia. And there's so many different factors or facets of Rutgers University Newark that speak to the fact that we are a diverse institution and we try to be very inclusive. So the one size fits all, of course, has never really worked for us. So our focus is on making sure that we are paying attention to key metrics so that we can continue to design around our students' reality, using student-centered engineering and value stream analysis. So I'm an industrial engineer, and a lot of what we do is related to user-centered design, but also value stream analysis. And a value stream, if you think about it, is just really a set of steps that will successfully get your customer from point A to point B. And along the way, they have a great experience. They enjoy whatever happened that ultimately led to the benefits that they're supposed to receive from the services or products that you're providing. So when you get that cup of coffee from Starbucks or any other coffee shop, there's a whole value stream analysis that's been done from the time that the coffee beans were picked all the way until they hand you that coffee on the counter. The whole point along the way is to make sure there's high quality along that value stream. So ultimately you enjoy that cup of coffee. All right. So for us, we focus on value stream analysis here at Rutgers University Newark. We haven't always called it that, but it is really what we're doing. Okay, we are doing value stream analysis. And to do that, though, you really do have to know who your students are, and you have to really get a deep understanding of their lived experience because they really are the customer. What is their journey like from the time they apply all the way until they get that degree? Now, if we do extended value stream analysis, it's also what happens after they graduate, after they get that career and that future that they've been hoping for all of their lives. So I want to first then share with you or just introduce to you who our students are. Some of you know that very well, but I want to show you in 2 ways who our students are. And one is through a short video, and the other then will be some statistics that I'd like to share.
The energy at Rutgers Newark is unmatched.
It's a university inside of the city, and it doesn't want to be separated by walls. It wants to be part of the city.
Rutgers Newark, being an anchor institution, is a part of our fabric. There's a space for everybody to feel like this is their home.
Everybody at Rutgers Newark has a story. From there, you use it to make an impact on the community.
We all are walking different paths, and I feel really supported to push myself to the next level and exceed the expectations that I have set for myself.
I'm so fortunate to be here. I'm so proud to be a part of this growth. There is an energy to it, the dynamism.
It's never quiet here. It kind of pushes you and challenges you to speak your mind and find your place. Rutgers Newark has transformed who I am. I can't imagine being anywhere else.
And it's important to really pick up on the place identity that our students bring to us. A very, very committed sense of place, particularly in the urban setting, and also wanting to be part of the community. But the last part of that video, if you notice, the student was saying, it is all about transformation as well. So our commitment to the value stream is to make sure they don't just come out with just a degree and move on with their lives, but they're transformed in the process. And that's major quality. That's the quality we should all be providing in higher education. So the other way that I want to, just remind us of who our students are is through some, broad statistics. So first of all, our students, they're talented. They are intelligent. They got here. They're obviously talented and intelligent, and they're time constrained. That is part of their reality. And so what we know is when we look at the general statistics for Rutgers University Newark, 56% of our students are Pell eligible. And over 80% of our students do receive financial aid, but note that somewhere in their trajectory and matriculation, they will be working at other jobs. Many of them start out that way. Many of them culturally are expected to contribute to their families, as I was as an undergraduate. That has to happen, and that is the way of life. So the 56% Pell eligible, 56% first generation, defined primarily by our national student success groups, which define first generation as parents having no college degree. 88% of our students are commuter students. They are coming in from somewhere else, surrounding cities. Also, they are living in and around us as well. Only a few percentages of our students are living in residence halls, about 12%. And 88% of our students are from the state of New Jersey. So we are serving the state of New Jersey, absolutely, each and every day here at Rutgers Newark. 94% of those students are within 75 miles of our campus. So when you think about the profile and demographic profile of our students, it's important to note that if our system doesn't work, then the default becomes attrition. We lose them. They stop out. Some may never come back. Some may stop out and come back 2 or 3 years later. It takes them a very long time to finish because they have to continue to drop out and come back. But the point here is that we really do have to be sensitive to who our users are. And we're constantly tweaking the system to make sure it's designed for them and make sure that value stream minimizes bottlenecks and things that get in the way of the trajectory. We maximize all of the enablers, though, to make sure we're adding fuel to that stream so that they can successfully move through it. So I wanted to show you, again, when it comes to rankings, what data we're analyzing. We, of course, want to be data-informed, data-driven. We do compare ourselves to peers. We have 40 urban serving universities that are peer universities. 38 of them actually are our peers. We drop Ohio State and what's the other one? SUNY Downstate, thank you. We drop them from the analyses because they're not at all highly comparable, and the aspirational levels are not something we want to focus on right now. So we have 38 urban serving universities who serve as our peers when we're conducting our analyses to see where we are in the areas of student success. I want to note too, though, that we also use now Big Ten institutions as our aspirational comparisons as well, and we're using those in a very strategic way. So under student success, if you look at just some of the metrics that really matter, and particularly for our students and their success and rankings, we do quite well. If you look at the yellow, oh, this won't show, I'm sorry. I'm pointing with the laser, but there is no laser. 1 year retention rates for us. If you look at the yellow line, those are the Rutgers Newark peers. That's the average of our peers. If you look at the red bars, of course, that's Rutgers Newark. And when it comes to retention, we're holding our own. 1 year, student comes in the fall, they come back the next fall. Okay, that's our 1 year retention rate. That says something worked, they were well supported, able to move through that first year successfully. If you look underneath that, though, and look at 6-year graduation rates, so instead go over to the 6-year, which is right under the retention, the 6-year graduation rates, we are above our peers, okay? We are performing above our peers in terms of those graduation rates. Under the 4-year graduation rates, we have some work to do. So we're holding at about the same as our peers, but I often say it's important to get our students through as many students completed within 4 years, because the longer they stay, the higher their debt accumulation. And the longer it takes for them to get into the marketplace and earn a salary that ultimately leads to return on investment. So we want them to finish in 4 years, and that's an aspiration. Some people think, well, if it's this population, we're not going to focus on 4 years. But what we're doing is, what we're doing is perpetuating, right, inequity when we focus in that way. So we want our students to get through in 4 years just as much as others. The U.S. News and World Ranking System, if you look at that bottom right quadrant, U.S. News and World Report uses factors such as income, SAT scores, class rank, ACT scores, et cetera, to calculate a prediction on whether a student or a group of demographics, a combined demographic, will graduate, how many years it will take them to graduate. And in this case, they have a 6-year prediction formula. That prediction formula, if you look at the yellow line, all right, that's the predicted 6-year graduation rate in terms of U.S. News and World Report saying this is the rate at which your students at Rutgers Newark will graduate. If you notice, though, we exceed every single year that rate. So there's something we're doing here that is working well. We can do better, okay? We can always do better, but there's something we're doing that is actually beating the odds of our students being able to graduate in 6 years. And we're quite proud of that at Rutgers Newark. Now, next, often people, sometimes our folks don't like us to call higher education a business. Folks, it is a business. It is a business. That's one of the earliest things I said to Mike Gower when I interviewed here. Mike knows it's a business. It is definitely, it's definitely a business, and you have to run it as such. And it's a business with a customer, right? And you're delivering a product called a college degree, ultimately a career and a future to people. And so we think of it as a business, and what we want our students to do is not just survive from day to day. They have every right and privilege to thrive. And we want to design an environment, back to that being transformative, we want to design an ecosystem where they will thrive. And to do that, they have to, we have to put things in place, facilitators along the value stream to help them to get through with a great experience. So I'm going to talk about some of the things in the ecosystem, not all of them. You can read a lot of this, of course, on our websites. But we have services in place where part of our service delivery to our students is to provide them with additional things they need beyond the academic tutoring, leadership skills, as an example, food, okay, we deal with food insecurity, housing insecurity, wraparound services, so that they can continue to move forward without life interfering with academic progress. But another thing that we have added this year is using student journey mapping. And student journey mapping is what it's called in the student success arena. But student journey mapping is really value stream analysis applied to students in higher education. And not a whole lot of people are using this, but it certainly is an effective tool for us to continue to understand and identify the facilitators, but also the barriers, the places where there are bottlenecks, the places where students are standing in line for long periods of time, or going and wasting way too much time because of bureaucracy, as an example. So we map out our students' experience so that we can continue to tweak the system, make it better and better and better to ensure they have a great experience as they move through the value stream. The one stop is where you will, and thank you, Ms. Papamarkou, for suggesting this a few months ago. The one stop is an area or a hub that we have designed and implemented as of last fall. And that hub is really addressing the needs of our students. And it's essentially one place to go to take care of everything. So rather than many of our first-gen students wandering around campus trying to figure out what to do to register and deal with a financial aid situation and a hold on their account, they go to one building to take care of all of that. And that's important. It's important to centralize the services for our users. But you'll be visiting One Stop later this afternoon. Now, I'm going to stop here, though, and invite two of my colleagues, Senior Vice Chancellor John Gunkel and Vice Chancellor LaToya Battle, Senior Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs, John Gunkel, and Vice Chancellor for Enrollment Management and Experience, LaToya Battle Brown, who will come here and give you an example of some of the student journey mapping that we're doing right now. Colleagues.
Thank you, Chancellor. Good afternoon, everyone. So what you see here is the first version of the Rutgers University Newark Student Journey Map. And just to warn you, I'm a philosopher, not an engineer, so I'm not going to be talking about value streams. I'll be talking about it in a little bit different way. But what is the Student Journey Map? So it's a visual representation of the interactions that a student has with an educational institution, portraying the entire student life cycle, including the key touch points and potential pain points that a student might have in a single perspicuous rendering. And right now we're calling the pain points potholes, and homage to New Jersey roads at this time of year between the winter snows and the spring patching. But we may change that. So this is the first version of the Rutgers Newark Student Journey Map, and we focused upon a particular stretch of the student life cycle from the point of matriculation to the point of graduation, and we focused on a particular persona, namely the first year college student. But a student journey map, you can do it in a number of different ways. You can include, and I think the Chancellor touched on this, you can start all the way back to the very first point of admissions inquiry, or even before that for people who are participating in pre-college programs like Rutgers Future Scholars. You can also push it forward in terms of students' engagement, with their with employers and into their career life cycle. And you can focus on different personas. So athletes, you can focus on transfer students, you can focus on adult learners. So we will be focusing on these additional phases and additional personas as we continue to kind of develop the Student Journey Map project. So the last thing I want to talk about very briefly is why the Student Journey Map is important. Again, the Chancellor touched on this, but first and foremost, what it does is it uncovers what's sometimes called the hidden curriculum in higher education, which are the unstated norms and the various different complex processes that a student has to navigate well in order to succeed in a rigorous university environment, and beyond that, to maximize the value of the degree once they graduate. So both of those things, finishing and being able to do things with a degree. A continuing generation student, as they're sometimes called now, may well understand why it's a good thing to develop an academic plan early, even if they may change it a bunch of times before they actually graduate, or to explore career resources and internship opportunities in their first or second year. Or maybe they don't. But first generation students we know are who don't have family resources to draw upon are highly unlikely to do so, to do either of those two things. With the result that their course choices may not consistently bring them towards graduation, potentially delaying their time to the degree, or they may not seriously explore career opportunities until after they have their degree, which puts them a year or two behind many of their colleagues. And other students from other backgrounds may find other ways of kind of running afoul of this hidden curriculum in higher education. So it's useful for any institution focusing on student success, like Rutgers Newark has been, as the Chancellor indicated, is intensifying its efforts under her, but it's especially important for an institution with the demographics that the Chancellor just recounted, whose student population are especially liable to lose their ways in this hidden curriculum. So our student journey map is really the essential next step in our efforts to improve student mobility while maintaining broad access and inclusive opportunity for all of our undergraduates. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, perfect. Oh, sorry. All right. Okay. I have just wasted 2 minutes. So sorry. Okay, so What we are planning to do is to develop an infographic map. We are anticipating that the infographic map will be complete by the end of this month. And so the map, as you can see in this sample, it shows the different stages throughout a student's journey at Rutgers University Newark. It will help our students, faculty, staff, and potential donors better understand the student experience and the student journey while they're here at Rutgers University Newark. The map highlights some challenges, and as John pointed out, we're affectionately calling them potholes that a student might potentially run into. So you'll see where it says, watch out. We are hoping that the students, when they see those things in this infographic, that it will bring attention to things that they may want to try to avoid, seek counsel on how to possibly avoid those things. And by showing these challenges, we're hoping that the students could avoid these potential issues. We're also hoping that when we share this potential map with donors, that the donors can see where they may be able to help a student in their academic success moving forward. So, you know, at Rutgers University Newark, we do have a number of students who work full time. They support families and they have children. So perhaps we'll, have a donor who might want to support a single mom with some of their educational expenses that could help them to lessen their hours at work and focus more on their academic success. So we are hoping again to have this map complete by the end of the month and hopefully share it with you soon. Thank you.
Thank you, colleagues. As you can see, we have a great team of leaders here at Rutgers University Newark. So thank you so much. And I do want to reiterate that these student journey maps is not a one-time thing, obviously, but we also are designing for various personas. So persona is a type of student. And so as you heard LaToya mention, a single mom as an example, that's a journey map. All right, so a single mom will have a slightly different set of lived experiences that we have to call attention to and be intentional about as we develop their journey map. And the same goes for programs like NJ STEP. We have students who are justice involved, incarcerated, who are working on their bachelor's degrees right now. So they have a different reality that we obviously will use as a persona so that we can continue to be successful in awarding degrees for our justice involved students who are in the NJ STEP program. All right. So, I hope it's clear that we're using data, we're using student-centered approaches to design an institution that, such that a low socioeconomic status student working 2 jobs with family demands is no less likely to succeed than a student born to wealth or privilege. And if we really are going to say that our systems are working in higher education, there should be no difference between the two. They should both be able to be, those profiles or personas should both be equivalently able to be successful in higher education. I'm pointing out a great book if you get a chance to get some reading in. Someone gave this book to me as a gift about 4 years ago after I gave an impassioned speech in the UNC system about how higher education was broken for some students, not for all, but for many, the majority of our folks who want to get a college education in the United States. And so, my whole point was we have to fix this and we have to learn to engineer systems that are going to work for everyone. And that's my commitment here at Rutgers Newark. But if you get to read Andrew Gumbel's book, it is focused on Georgia State University, but Georgia State has pretty much some of the highest student success metrics in the United States. I mean, they are top notch, and they started doing this kind of work a few years ago. All right, celebrations and points of pride. I will skip this. I know you have these in your notes, but we've had some great things happening at Rutgers Newark. Certainly you can read those for yourself, and I will move on to the rest of the presentation. A few more things I want to talk about. Oh, no, I have to go back one. I want to celebrate our buses, our electric powered buses. You will see, if you come back to Newark anytime soon, you'll see these electric powered buses driving around. They're now branded, because I said one of our priorities is branding and visibility. A lot of people don't know who we are. And we're right here in the city. I mean, right here in New Jersey, but they don't know who we are. And so our electric buses will be on the road when, Latoya? End of the month. End of the month. And wonderful thing about the buses is, there's a lot of traffic here in Newark. Okay, I'm learning to be patient and sit there and wait. But on the back of the buses are QR codes, and on the side of the buses are QR codes. So if you're just sitting there, zap the QR code, whoever's behind the bus, and they can, I can apply and all these great things and read about the programs while they're sitting in traffic. There's a whole lot of dense traffic in Newark. And the potholes, by the way, I will say are a thing. I had to get my little Toyota Corolla adjusted last fall because I hit one of those potholes. I had no idea, but it required a little bit of wheel alignment after that. So potholes. But look for the buses. We're excited about that. And then one more thing before I end. One of the things that's happening at Rutgers Newark is, as you know, we were chartered in 1946. We became part of the State University of New Jersey. So this is our 80th birthday. As of April 30th, 2026. And we will be throwing a big birthday bash. We hope you will all come and join us. And it happens that Arcilio Aponte made the connection. Is Arcilio here? Okay. Made the connection that that's also International Jazz Day. So, we're all about jazz here in Newark, definitely. So feel free to come and take part in the food, the fun, the celebration, and certainly enjoy the music, because we're definitely going to put on a party here at Rutgers Newark. We will not be canceling classes. I just need students to know that. Classes are still in session. It's just celebrate when you can, come out of class. And then let's see, there was one more thing that I was supposed to mention. Oh, advisory board member. I just saw Teresa Rodriguez McPherson. As you know, Rutgers Newark has its own advisory board as well. So we have board of trustees, we got board of governors as the governance structures, but we also have an advisory board that hopefully you'll see more of, and they're very active. So thank you so much for coming today, Teresa. All right, that ends my discussion. I think the main thing is to understand that our ambition here at Rutgers Newark is that we won't lose that dream. We will not lose this dream for our students. We're building a system for these dreamers, and we're going to make it happen. We're definitely going to make it happen, and we'll get better and better each and every day. So thank you for your time, and I'll take any questions if you have any. Yes.
Chancellor, thank you very much for your comments. This is a great presentation. I'm curious about the student journey map, because I have talked to a bunch of incoming students and students in 11th and 12th grades over the years. And this is really important for them to understand these steps and to follow them through, particularly those that are first generation. I just had 2 third-generation students, my kids, come through school, and they didn't know all these things, and they didn't do all these things. The map is great. What's the plan for how you engage with students so that they get this information and understand how important it is, and what's the marketing plan for it?
That's a good question. There is a lot we can do with these student journey maps. First of all, the inputs into the maps also come from students, right? Describing their experiences and advisors and faculty, et cetera, who've observed these experiences over the years. But the other side of this is the student journey map is something that can be used particularly for first-year students, and it will be shared with them so that they then can identify personas that map more to their lived experience and use that to navigate their matriculation through the university. It's also a diagnostic tool, though, for both the students and the university, right? So if a student is coming up on that 3rd year where career expansion is a big deal, and the student makes a decision not to go to the career fair, which we had on February 19th, I think was our career fair, they decide not to go. That's a critical point that they've missed. We call that a critical point in the value stream that they missed. But what does it say too about us and how well we marketed the career fair? Maybe we didn't market it in the right way. We only sent emails. We should have been, putting it on social media and doing other things, announcing in the classroom. So it becomes a tool for both the student and the institution to partner together to be able to move this through. How we're going to market it, beyond, I'm not sure, because we haven't thought about marketing it publicly. We have thought about tailoring the marketing, though, to donors, for example. So we've had a number of donors who said, where can I give to be more impactful? Should I just give to general scholarships, or do I need to give to someone who, a single mother having daycare problems with finding daycare and paying for daycare? Do I need to, give to that particular area in order to facilitate student success? So we would market it to donors and other, select people or groups so that we can then better, make sure that we can get services for our students. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Actually, as you were speaking, I was thinking about your fraternities and sororities that are here on campus.
Yeah.
Who are actively sort of mentoring their younger members. Maybe they can be an avenue for getting this, actually not just getting the information out, but having real life examples of how you do it in front of students.
That is a great.
But I think a full court press marketing will be important for this.
I love that. And definitely fraternities and sororities. I'm looking over here at Dr. Green, Interfaith Action Movement, because there are many churches and synagogues and masjids who are trying to also mentor their students pathways into getting the college degree. And we are focused too on developmental pathways so that we can get people from cradle to college degree. So that's a very good point. We have so many partners in here though, who can also help us. So I appreciate that. Sorry to call you out, Dr. Green, but good to see you today. Other?
David?
Thank you, Chancellor. It's good to see you again.
Great to see you.
I was interested in the how the student journey is being marketed to donors who may want to donate to a specific, I think you said, persona.
Yeah.
How are you going to create funds? Specific funds that can be identified for, whatever the persona is, or how is that going to be made available to donors?
And I would see.
That's a good question.
All right, now it's working. Okay, good. I see the personas though as representative of, subcategories, right? So that one persona may actually represent 600, 700 students. And so what we want to do is take the general challenges, the hardships of those 607 as we see it as a pattern. And then we have folks like Beth Brody over here, our foundation leader, who then will make donors aware and through various avenues, but educate donors about the various personas to help them to figure out where they want to give for the greatest impact. Yeah.
Greg, did you have your hand out?
Yes. Thank you for a very interesting presentation. I do have a question. I think your data shows that 88% or 80-some% of your students are commuters.
Yes. Yes.
And my question, the leading part of it is, how do they get here? And what challenges does that present?
That's a good question. I can't go one day without people talking about parking and traffic and whatever, but I get what you're saying. Some of them, many of our students, have been in urban areas for quite some time and really are masters at using public transportation. So if they're using public transportation, buses, et cetera, that's not uncommon. But the other part of it is we have a number of students who use cars and they're coming in. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I think, are our peak days for parking. We have some parking challenges here, definitely. So usually they're driving or they're using public public transportation.
My thinking was that you really, considering the economics of the student population here, you really don't want to require a student to have a car to come here.
No, no.
And so you are going to head toward a lot of public transportation for how you get here. And I wonder what the challenges are. Have you ever inquired with the students what their difficulties are in getting here?
Oh, yes. Arcelio Ponte and our parking services folks do surveys on a routine basis to understand, and they develop heat maps and things like that to understand where students' challenges are for commuting. That then helps us to determine what interventions we need to design. For example, I believe it was last year, after a student survey related to parking, information was provided to students or we actually helped to discount some of the bus cost and in order to incentivize them to use public transportation. They were given information about carpooling and, shared rides and sharing with each other to get to campus. So our parking services folks, our facilities group, they do a great job of continuing to tweak this system to make it easier for our students to get here. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Kim.
You're bringing back memories of when I was a law student here. I was the parking appeals coordinator where people would come. I was not popular with students. I was more popular with faculty, honestly. So, but no, I was going to mention about the infographic for the journey map. It may be to enlist faculty in the distribution of it. If they could maybe put it in their syllabus for the first year courses, that would get it some more views. And I think if you can really lean into it and maybe create some short videos and bring students to talk along the process, you might get a lot of repeat viewers, and that information is going to set in.
Yes, great idea. And we have had faculty inputs to the student journey maps, right, for validation and things like that. But certainly we could have faculty make this part of their syllabus or put it on their, on their Canvas site so students can see the various personas and plan accordingly with whatever they identify with. I like the video idea. I had not thought of that. Right.
Okay, we have
Thank
time
you
for
the
one more
suggestions.
question, and I'll turn this one to Walt McDonald, who is online.
Thank you, Chair. Great presentation, Chancellor. I love the student journey maps. And I learned about Georgia State many years ago. They started doing this then, and that's, I think, what contributes to their success. And one ingredient in that success is they really communicate. Kim talked about the videos. They track. They tie into their social media. They track their attendance. If they hit these important points, if they don't, they follow up with the students. So there's really a lot of tender loving care that really brings them along through these the student journey maps. And that's really what really contributes to their success at Georgia State. So I would encourage you to try and do a system like that.
Thank you. And I very much agree. Georgia State has a whole integrated system around students. They're tracking them in near real time. It's pretty amazing the way they use their data so that they can intervene for something that happens today. They're intervening with that student tomorrow, at least by tomorrow. So
absolutely,
it's fascinating.
It's a phenomenal system. And again, that's why they're really at the top of their game.
Oh,
Thank you.
Definitely.
Great presentation.
All right. Thank you. And thank you all. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for the suggestions today as well. And I look forward to continue to talk about the things that we're doing for student success at Rutgers Newark. So thank you.
Pat, can we put the board goals up on the screen? Assuming it's not there. Or not? Okay, those are the 4 board goals that we set in the beginning of this academic year. And so we're going to, as we always do, we'll walk through these together. And the first one, Scarlet Promise Grant participation. I'm going to do the rah-rah part, and I'm going to ask Dina Elkins to do the back room stuff when we get to the committee work. So I'll talk about Scarlet Promise Grant as a team. This initiative began. You're going to feel a sense of huge pride here. This initiative began back in the late 2010s with a study and analysis, which led to a resolution from the board in 2019, in which we essentially created the Scarlet Promise Grant Endowment. And that started off pretty strongly, but it has reached amazing heights since then. It's truly a point of pride, not just for the board, for the university, I think. And I'm not the least bit biased. So I want to give you a sense of just how much impact that effort has had. The Scarlet Promise Endowment, which has been supported by the board, by the Office of the President, by the University Foundation, by the Board of Governors, currently sits at north of $70 million. But wait, there's more. Of that amount, about $11 million came from the Board of Trustees from us. And don't fuss with these numbers too much. There is a difference between promises or commitments and cash. The cash generates about $1.5 million of operating funds annually. That money is used to support roughly 800 students who would otherwise have had financial issues. And I think we need to be proud of that. I'm very proud of that. I think all of us should be proud of that. And the average gift is $1,900. When we first started this, we thought the average gift would be about $500, and we didn't think we would reach 800 students this quickly. We'll have more on this in the June meeting, including maybe some more detailed calculations about how we got there. But I want to thank all the chairs of the task forces on trustee philanthropy, the folks who ran the studies that figured this out to begin with, and all of you for participating since 2019. I think we owe yourselves a round of applause. Now I'd like to ask Mary Papamarkou to provide an update on the board progress to achieve our roles as ambassadors of Rutgers excellence.
This is too much responsibility. I probably forwarded
like 7 slides at this point, but good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Chair, and welcome to our new trustees. My name is Mary Papamarkou, and as all year we've been highlighting our goal to be ambassadors for Rutgers excellence. As part of that ongoing effort, we have worked with each of the Chancellery units to identify campus activities and points of pride events that would be elevated and benefit from trustee support and engagement. Our goal was to identify 1 to 2 events each Chancellor-led unit per semester and publish dates in advance so you could mark your calendars. We heard you. Earlier this semester, we shared a list highlighting some of those events shown here. Oh yeah, it's here. A full list of the events is included in the resource section on the onboard. Some of the events that we've participated in since our last meeting in December include, include the first year interest group seminars reception, the Raptor Rally, and many sporting events. It is also important to celebrate honors and recognitions with the full board. This spring, Chris Folio, trustee, Hollis Copen, trustee governor, and Anthony Covington, former trustee, will all be recognized as loyal sons and daughters on Saturday, April 18th. I don't know where everybody is, but on Thursday, April 23rd, Jim Doherty, trustee governor and trustee emeriti, will be recognized as a Hall of Distinguished Alumni along with former trustee Jim Rhodes. We are excited to celebrate these momentous achievements, and we encourage everyone to consider participating in them and other Point of Pride events. The opportunity to engage with students, researchers, and future leaders while they are on their own Rutgers journey, and I was tied in, is an impactful way to see Rutgers excellence in action during your board service. We hope that you'll stay and join us today for the tour of the one-stop center Chancellor Smith-Jackson spoke about in her presentation. And we would love to share pictures or updates on events that may be of interest to you. So please feel free to reach out to the leadership team or the secretary's office with any contributions or comments. We will post pictures from our December meeting on the onboard resource portal. I know a lot of people missed those, so we'll put them up there. And then we will add the Newark birthday bash date to our list. And with that, I will turn it back. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll cover the other two goals when we are in the committee summaries. So at this point, I'd like to just point out the minutes have been posted as part of the package for today's. The minutes from last time were posted on the portal for today's package.
I have comment. Marty Gillis.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mark. I didn't see your hand there. Go ahead.
Okay, in reviewing the minutes, I had made some comments on the takeover of the Jameson building. And I had requested, and today, and Patrick, I'm sure will review them and revise them because I did make comments. And there were questions that I had that I'd like submitted into the minutes. Thank you.
I'm sorry. Did you want to say something about those impressions now in front of the board, or do you want us to read them?
I have those. They were omitted in our minutes from December, and I had made a request for those comments to be included in the minutes and just to have a revised minutes, and I don't have to go through them again. The questions and the comments that were the answers that were provided to me at that time.
Okay, so as I understand, we didn't put them in the minutes, and you want us to make sure we do that this time and in the future, and we will definitely do that.
Okay, just simply revise the December meeting minutes. Okay.
Yeah, on that point, Marty and I discussed it, and this was naming of at the Douglas campus, the Jameson D dorm, specifically a name for the Caddy School, for the Caddy School. And Marty expressed some concerns about that. The minutes said there was no discussion, and there was discussion. We were told at that time in response to Marty's question that the building was deteriorated and could be used or something like that. To go back to the tape, I guess. But that's not what the minutes said, because a few of us who are Douglas alum were upset about this, but we heard about it too late. December 9th is the first time we heard about it. And Marty asked that question at the minutes, but the minutes don't record it. So we would like that recorded.
Yeah, we can revise the minutes to include these things that we have evidently left out. And if there are any more of those, we need to know about those.
Okay, and just simply, my questions were answered satisfactorily, but I just want to make sure that the record shows that the questions were asked and answered. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much for bringing that up. Well, I got ahead of myself a little bit. I was going to ask, has everybody read the minutes? And obviously we have. And and if anybody had any discussion before we vote to approve the minutes, and obviously you did, and we did. So if there aren't any more of those, can I have a motion to, the motion would be to approve the minutes with the addition of these two omissions.
Can I have a point of inquiry? Do you want to read out what those are going to be, or do you want to wait until they're revised and then present them at the next meeting? Because
well, that's probably a better idea. So you'll have them in writing in front of you for the next meeting. So the suggestion was we'll make those changes and then circulate that version of the minutes, and we'll approve those in our next meeting, which will be our last chance to get it right. Thank you for that. So we will table that vote for the June 22nd board meeting. So with that, I would like to turn this over to Ms. Kimberly Lewis, Executive Vice President and Chief Administration Officer, who will introduce two resolutions regarding changes that are being requested for resolutions that we had approved earlier in earlier meetings. So Kimberly.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. I am here to talk about well, I'll keep them separate, but two resolutions related to the Helix 3. So the third and final building of the New Jersey Health and Life Science Exchange Development, the Helix, will start construction this spring. Rutgers is participating in H3 by having space for housing for medical and graduate students, as well as research space. The approval of the Board of Governors for Rutgers participation initially happened in February of 2023, and that included H1 and H3. Last year in April, the Board of Governors, as well as the Board of Trustees, consented to our participation in H3. Since that time, we have gotten updated numbers on the cost, and we are now prepared to actually go out for debt on those floors of the H3 building. So there have been slight price changes, so we're coming back for your consent to those increased costs. The first increase relates to the housing space, and that portion is increasing from 35.7 million to 39.9 million, but we will earn additional tax credits associated with that change. So the tax credits will increase from 27.1 million and go up to 30.44 million. The second phase of the building is the research space, which is a floor of the building. That actually is coming down in cost from 41.2 million down to 40.9 million. And the tax credits will likewise decrease from 31.4 to 31.1. That space will be occupied by the School of Engineering. So our request is your consent to those changes. So roughly a $4 million change in the total project cost.
I'm sorry, is there any discussion about or question about the proposed resolution? And what we're voting on here is to consent to the Board of Governors on these two debt increases, right?
All right.
So, I'm sorry?
She's making the motion.
Oh, you're moving, okay, yes, is there a second?
Oh, it's not working. Pat, help. Oh, that. Okay. See, Pat wasn't here before. That was the problem. Anyway, it's a great, I live in New Brunswick. It's a great facility. We're going to get a lot out of this, but I'd like to move this resolution.
Okay, second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Any abstentions? The motion to consent to this, to the Board of Governors is approved. Ms. Lewis, you have another one, I think.
I'm ready. The next resolution is also a modification. In October of last year, the Board of Governors approved the naming of the Jameson Residence Hall D in relation to an $8 million gift from the Evans Scholars Foundation. This was consented to by the board, and I think was just the topic of discussion on the meeting minutes from the last meeting. What we are proposing is to rename that building. So it was previously approved to be the Evans Scholars Fireman Family Scholarship House. And we are now asking, at the request of the donor, that it be the NJSGA Evans Scholars Liberty National Scholarship House. This name change recognizes the partnership between the Evans Scholars Foundation and Liberty National Golf Club in Jersey City. They are funding part of that $8 million, and we wanted to correct the name of the house to reflect that partnership.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. We agree. That is can be forwarded to the Board of Governors for action with the trustee consent. Now I have to place. Wow, we're making good progress on time. Sorry about this. I'd like to call on Mr. Gary Chapravka for a report on the Joint Committee on Investments.
Great, and thank you for that extra time to prepare. Appreciate it. So on February 17th, we met and discussed 5 key items. I want to give you an update on what we discussed, and then also some tidbits on our performance and our size. So on the first, we reviewed our asset allocation, which we will finalize at our last scheduled meeting, and that's one of the most important things that we do. We will plan on keeping it consistent. Happy to go through the details to anyone after. The second thing we did was we made 2 minor benchmark changes going forward to more accurately reflect our investment comparisons. Third is, given there's an increase in co-investment opportunities that we've been seeing in the industry, we have done some work with the staff as well as our committee to kind of create and solidify a better framework and process for approving these types of investments. The fourth thing was reviewing the investment office budget, which we do annually. The budget came in at about 17 basis points of the endowment. That puts us kind of to our Big Ten peers in the bottom half. So meaning lower cost than our Big Ten peers on average, as well as any endowment over $1 billion. And the last thing, which we thought was important, was after 10 years of having in-house management, as opposed to outsourcing the role, we reaffirmed that this is absolutely the right direction for the endowment. Among the reasons that we pushed forward, one is lower all-in fees, allowing more compounding, broader opportunities to drive performance, and also a robust relationship with the university, including our, I think, our very successful intern program. I would also, just additional comfort for all, 17 of our Big Ten endowments use a similar in-house CIO model. There's only one that does not, that being Oregon. So just a couple things on performance and size. Fortunately, we're at another record for the size of the endowment at $2.4 billion. Again, most importantly of that number is it generates almost $100 million in monies for students, faculty, and research, as well as infrastructure projects. So I think we should all be very proud of that. We actually have moved up to 16th in the Big Ten. Big Ten, remember, is 18 universities, very intuitive. And we just moved ahead of Nebraska. So Nebraska and Oregon, we are above, and hopefully we will continue that trend each quarter. On the performance side, the fiscal numbers for the 1 year, we were 11 out of 18. 7 out of 18 for the 3-year. These are versus the Big Ten. And just some numbers, the 1-year numbers, we were up 13.7%. Benchmark was up about 13.8. 3-year numbers up a little over 12%, outperforming by about 30 basis points, and the 5-year up about 8 versus 8.3. So obviously markets have been up X the last week. For the last many years, that certainly has helped our endowment grow consistently and persistently. So with that, happy to address and take any questions. If not, I will turn it over to you, Mr. Chair.
Bob.
Yeah, thanks, Gary. A number of years ago, if I'm not mistaken, the investment office decided to sort of pivot to a higher percentage of private equity investments. There's been a lot of recent press on the performance of private equity, the liquidity of private equity. Has that changed the direction that the investment office is seeking to go, or still going down that route?
So I'll answer it a couple different ways, and the chair can cut me off if I get too into the weeds. But I think the press that maybe you're talking about is let me start off. We are very much in favor of private investments. We believe there's a big liquidity premium. I would say, as we thought about, and when you served on the JCOI, your memory is spot on as usual. We were somewhat behind in our private equity relative to a lot of our peers, particularly peers that were over $1 billion. So we were very much, behind in our, movement to get more into private equity, especially where our target was. So that has been a goal, that has been a big focus, and we continue to push forward with that. I would say you're seeing in the press, at least what I'm seeing is a lot on private credit. We don't really participate too much in the private credit aspect. That's much more of, as picked up on institutions and retail, but endowments, just given the return expectations that we have, we usually don't spend a lot of time on private credit in particular. Interestingly, a quarter ago, we had an opportunistic credit bucket. We actually made it a little broader to be opportunistic so we can look across the spectrum. But, good observation that there is some, I would say some bad press around private credit. There was a recent, fund that couldn't meet their distributions. But we don't really spend a lot of our capital in that. But within privates and venture, we do put a fair amount of capital, and it's actually been a very, very lucrative for the endowment.
Even with sort of extended liquidity periods for privates?
Absolutely. So yeah, what Bob's kind of referring to is when you have obviously public equity, you can trade in a day or two, and it's very, very liquid, obviously. Private, usually you have there's an illiquidity. We think that's compensated with an illiquidity discount. I would say the other thing to take comfort, we think about liquidity a lot. We do have a lot of public equity. So God forbid we needed to raise money. About roughly 40% of our endowment can be raised in about almost a day. So we are very liquid if we needed to be, but we also take advantage of that, of being an endowment and lasting for hundreds and hundreds of years and being able to pick up that illiquidity discount. So great question. Thank you.
Appreciate
Sorry
the
for
explanation.
the
Thanks,
answer. Hope that's helpful.
Any other questions for Gary? If none, then I would like to turn to the Committee on Trustee Philanthropy, and Ms. Dina Elkins can give us that report.
Committee on Trustee Philanthropy met 3 times since the last Board of Trustees meeting. During these meetings, the committee received presentations from student affairs personnel from each university to better understand how emergency funding is distributed from the Board of Trustees pre-existing endowments. In addition, the committee received back the first set of questions from the standardized questionnaires that will be reviewed by the committee in the coming weeks. All of this information will help the committee's recommendation for the end of the year on the endowments going forward. And as the chair mentioned, we're getting close to the end of the year, and we're going to point out the importance for all members to consider their participation in giving to the Scarlet Promise Endowment. Right now, participation stands at only 27%. So although we're not focusing on Giving Day, for some members, they wait till that day to do this, and that date is April 24th. So if that is a day of importance, keep that on your calendar. For those who would like to give before then, we do have the QR code, and is included in your board materials, and will be projected on the screen here at the end of the meeting if anybody is ready to make their gift today. So please make sure you contribute, and we really do need 100% of the board to give. So give what you can, and we appreciate it. Thank you very much. And Mr. Chair, that's the end of my report.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Dina? Yes, Jean.
Not a question. I happily serve on Dina's committee, but give now. You get a nice little email saying that you've met your obligation, which I never got before, so I was very happy about that. But do it now, so it makes things a lot easier for us. If you want to give on a monthly basis, that's even good. But this is what we were talking about before, about the need, that students have a lot of need. It includes the food bank, but also emergency services, like your car breaks down, you can't buy a battery or whatever. Small amounts, but each of the 3 campuses are handling it and they're working more closely together. It's a great program.
Any other questions? If not, I would like to ask Dr. LeCadre for a report on the Diversity and Inclusion Committee.
Thank you, Chair Johnson. The Committee on Diversity, Inclusion, and Outreach met on January 23rd and continued its work toward the creation of a video that can be used for recruitment. The committee has identified 7 potential individuals for interviews, and the Office of the Secretary is working with ITV on the logistical details of the filming. We're very excited about this project, and if we reach out to you and ask you to participate, we hope you say yes. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for Dr. LeCadre? Hearing none, I'd like to call on Squire Servants for a report on the ad hoc task force for committee effectiveness, which we've discussed at least once prior to this meeting in another board meeting. Squire.
Thank you, Chair. The task force has been meeting throughout the year with the goal of providing recommendations for the June meeting. Much of the task force's work has been centered on identifying critical duties and responsibilities within each of the committees and determining the most effective way to organize those functions. The task force has made a lot of progress. We've had a lot of meetings and is currently sharing the parameters, proposed recommendation with leadership. As the June meeting approaches, hopefully we will be circulating into this group so we can socialize these recommendations before the June meeting. Mr. Chair, that concludes my report.
Thank you. Are any questions for Squire? Then I would like to call on Ms. Lewis again for a report on the Board of Governors Committee on Audit from January.
Thank you very much for calling on me again. On January 22nd, the Committee on Audit, Risk, and Compliance held its meeting and received updates from university leadership, including the annual review of professional services contracts, a KPMG NCAA agreed upon procedures report with no concerns noted, and a comprehensive compliance briefing introducing a draft of Rutgers compliance matrix and ongoing policy modernization efforts. The committee also heard reports addressing audit and advisory activities, research and athletics compliance, and the status of internal controls. That concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Ms. Lewis? Okay. We come to the points of pride part of our agenda, something we introduced initially this year. And these points of pride are important for us because they inform our ability to boast about our university when we're in groups who may have come from other universities and think they're good. But we'll show them that we're better. So can I start with Chancellor Conway, please, Rutgers, New Brunswick.
Thank you, Chair Johnson, trustees. Happy to present a few points of pride today. So Rutgers, New Brunswick is entering or has entered a defining moment as we transition from progress to prominence. Our recent gains in rankings, research strength, student outcomes, and institutional reputation demonstrate that a public flagship can lead nationally in excellence and access. So here's where we stand. In terms of our national momentum, over the past 4 years, we have risen from number 63 to 42 nationally, and from 19 to 16 among public universities. In terms of student success, among the Big Tens, our strongest institutions, our graduation rates are strong relative to other Big Ten schools. We are the largest, most diverse, and academically strong, have had the largest, most diverse, and academically strong incoming class in the history of the university. In terms of research strength, our citation and bibliometric rankings went up 10 points. Our research expenditures grew from 289 to 325 million. Innovation and ecosystems includes 71 startups, 930 technologies, and over 1,000 patents. In terms of excellence and inclusion, our continued leadership in closing the Pell and non-Pell graduation gap. It's currently about 6%, which is very small, but we continue to focus on that. And we've had 14 consecutive years as a top producer of Fulbright scholars, multiple Churchill, Beneke, Truman, and Rhodes recipients. Now, in terms of our president, he has given us an ambitious goal, and I just want to share 3 points on that. President Tate has asked us to become the top 10 public university, and this hinges largely on our student success efforts. So first, we agreed on what student success should look like. We want to be 90% in our graduation rate, 95% retention, and 90% placement. The pride point today is that we are at 84% in our graduation rate, 92% retention, and 83% placement, career placement. So we're close, and we're clear-eyed about what it will take to get the rest of the way. The second point I want to speak to is that we have built strong, sustained retention performance. Our first-year retention has been steady over the past 4 years, between 92 to 93%. That stability really reflects the foundational work that's being done by our teams, student support, our faculty, and so on. So our retention rate is not slipping. It has plateaued, basically, which tells us that we need to be a little bit more precise in gaining and retaining those extra few students that are slipping out of our grasp. The third point I want to make has to do with what drives persistence. And the data that we've looked at have shown that the first term GPA is the strongest predictor of retention. And when that first term, I'll give you 3 sort of ways that we look at it. Sort of when the first term GPA slips beneath 3.25, that's when our students start to think about leaving. And the group that's most affected are our out-of-state and international students. So we know what's happening. We can intervene, and that's what we're planning to do. Again, our numbers are not bad at all. They're excellent. We just want to keep going in that excellent direction. The last thing I'll say is regarding my third and final point, regarding our career outcomes. We know that placement of students in jobs rise and falls with the economy. And over the last 4 years, our median employment outcomes for students career employment outcomes has been around 81.4%. But the range has been from 77, which started 4 years ago, to 88%. So we're trending in the right direction. We're in the process of launching a career-ready campus roadmap, and so focusing fully on students being ready for post-graduation. So before I close, there are 2 ways that you can help us accelerate this work. First, as we launch this roadmap for Career Ready Campus, your introductions to partners, internships, mentorships, employer connections will directly strengthen this career placement goal that we have. And second, you can help us to scale first-term supports. So supporting those students in the first year is really critical, especially for students who are facing financial risk. That is one of the determinants of whether or not we're able to retain them. So your advocacy, your connections will help us turn these early data insights into sustained student success. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Chancellor Johnson.
Thank you very much, Trustee Johnson. And at Rutgers Health, we have a lot to be proud of. And when you think of health, you think about health care. And in the state of New Jersey, in this year, we are close to 2.5 million patient encounters in our own clinics, as well as associated with our clinical partners. So that's one of the things you think about. The other thing you think about is research. And we are this year probably going to reach more than $650 million of sponsored research throughout Rutgers Health this year. And that's critically important because this is a year when that's gone down. And there has been an attack from somebody, I won't name, who has made that very difficult. Our research dollars actually gone up 8%. And so that's another thing to be very proud of. But there are lots of people, lots of entities that provide healthcare. There are lots of entities that do research. We do one thing that nobody else does in the state of New Jersey. We produce the healthcare workforce. We have 8,000 students, and those 8,000 students are involved in approximately 28 or 29 degree and certificate programs that cover every aspect of healthcare except one, and that's podiatry. And podiatry is actually one of our graduate medical education programs, although it's not one of our academic programs. So we're a major producer of healthcare workforce for the state and actually throughout the country. And so in this time of year, there's lots of thought given by people like me who've been a dean for 22 years about what's happening now. And that's because in 2 weeks, at least at the medical schools, 370 students will on March 20th find out where they will go and do their graduate medical education programs. So between our 2 medical schools, we have 370 students. On that day, March 20th at noon on the East Coast and the same time across the country, the deans of the schools will present to the students their match rate and where they will go to do the programs. Now, we're very proud of what happens at Robert Johnson Medical School, New Jersey Medical School. Our match rate is exceptional. For the country, it's about 90% of students who are graduating will match. Our rate is between 93 and 95%. That's what it was last year. We have no reason to believe it will be different this coming year. The other thing we're very proud of is that we actually retain in New Jersey a significant portion of our students. About 31% of the students who graduate will perform their postgraduate medical education in New Jersey. 25% will be in our own programs. And that's very important because it does add to a response to the deficit we have in New Jersey of healthcare providers. Now, so that's just the medical schools. We have other schools as well who will also graduate their students in the coming year, in the coming months. At the New Jersey Dental School, we'll graduate approximately 90 students, and those 90 students will go on to prestigious programs and some in the postgraduate, but others will study orthodontics, dentistry, oral, maxillofacial health. And one of the things you may be thinking was, why doesn't he tell us where the students are going? We won't know that until they match. And so that's a closely held secret. We have an excellent School of Pharmacy, the Ernest Mario School of Pharmacy. This year, we will graduate again between 200 and 250 students. They will place in graduate settings in 27 we find that we go to 27 pharmaceutical companies throughout the state of New Jersey. And as you already heard, one of our students was a Rhodes Scholar this year, and the first Rhodes Scholar in the university in several decades. We have a School of Health Professions, and that school has approximately 20 degree and certificate programs, and that school supplies all those other pieces that are in healthcare. You think about nurses, you think about doctors, but they have medical assistants, people in laboratories, people who do auditing, people who do the medical, take your blood pressure, do radiology, all sorts of different fields. And this year, we will probably graduate about 400 students who will leave our program and go into those jobs. The employment rate of those students is 100%. They are highly desired and highly sought after, and hopefully most of them will stay here in New Jersey to supply what is needed in many of our clinical partners. We have a School of Nursing, the Rutgers School of Nursing, and everyone knows well about the critical shortage of nurses in the United States. We will graduate between 800 and 900 nurses in New Jersey. 97% of those graduates will immediately enter and roles around the state. The interesting thing about our School of Nursing is the rate of applications to the school. We had so far this year, 14,000 students who applied for those roughly 800 positions. And they're all excellent. In fact, so excellent that we have a waiting list of 3,240 students. We will not go into that waiting list. And if it were possible, and don't ask me how, we could increase the ability of our nursing school, we could bring in all those other students. School of Public Health will graduate this year to between 250 to 300 students, and the School of Public Health places individuals who work in health policy and healthcare delivery all over the country. And right now, we have approximately 2,300 alumni of that school working in very, very important positions nationally as well as here in our state. And finally, the School of Graduate Studies. This is a research school, and we will graduate 250 students, some with PhDs, others with master's degrees, and they will go on to careers in creating science and advancing knowledge in healthcare. So across RBHS, our graduates are stepping into roles that are urgently needed, not only in New Jersey, but across the nation. They do this with skill, compassion, and a deep commitment to serving our communities. We're tremendously proud of our students, our future dentists, future pharmacists, future nurses, future physicians, future therapists, and many other professionals who will maintain and improve healthcare in New Jersey and throughout the country, and we're very, very proud of them.
Thank you very much. And now, Chancellor Tillis, Rutgers Camden, please.
Thank you, Chairman Johnson, members of the Board of Trustees. Good afternoon. It's always a pleasure to come to just share with you a few institutional highlights from the South, from Rutgers University in Camden. Research funding for us reached $20.6 million FY26, which represents the second highest total in the history of our campus, positioning Rutgers Camden to potentially surpass last year's record and reinforcing its trajectory as a rising research institution. Rutgers Camden's STEM leadership was further affirmed by being selected as one of only 7 institutions nationally to receive the prestigious $700,000 Claire Booth Luce Foundation grant, advancing women in STEM and strengthening faculty mentorship and research capacity. Rutgers Camden we launched our new AI campus, which is a transformative interdisciplinary initiative advancing artificial intelligence education, ethical innovation, workforce readiness, and regional economic competitiveness. Enrollment is rising in all categories at Rutgers Camden, which includes a 2.6 increase in our spring enrollment and also an 11.2 increase in international enrollment. This growth significantly outpaces national trends and reflects strong recruitment strategies among our professionals that are at Rutgers Camden. Rutgers Law School earned national distinction with an A+ rating for its international law programs, top faculty citation rankings, and a $2.5 million philanthropic investment to expand public interest law and also student opportunity. Rutgers School of Business Camden secured transformative investments from the Charles Schwab Foundation and federal support to establish a new South Jersey Center for Economic Development, strengthening the university's role as a driver of regional economic growth, entrepreneurship, and workforce development. Major philanthropic investments include a $1.2 million bequest establishing the Fishman Urban Research and Educational Endowment, which continues to expand research excellence, faculty scholarship, and student opportunity. Faculty research excellence, our faculty are continuing to earn major national and global recognition, including prestigious NIH and International Foundation Awards, supporting groundbreaking scientific discovery and global collaboration. The university continues to expand student success, access, and engagement through national scholarship recognitions for first-generation students. We had 3 of them to receive the prestigious Gilman International Scholarship for 2026. We also, of the 15 students that applied for Fulbright, 7 of those 15 are now semi-finalists, and we're waiting to hear from the Fulbright Foundation regarding their fate, if I may. Also, athletics. Many of you know we are a D3 athletic division. We unveiled our new athletic mark, and thank you, Trustee, for being there with us and helping to cheer on our new mascot and also to reveal our new athletic marks during our rector rally, which was a few weeks ago. Finally, I'd just like to say that Rutgers Camden continues to distinguish itself among its peers as one of the leading R2 public universities. Again, we are the top ranked of R2s relative to our competitors in the South. And thank you for all of the support that you have given, particularly to our students who suffer from food insecurity. Our pantry continues to increase relative to the number of students that come out and to utilize. And I want to thank the Board of Trustees for your support of that effort. Mr. Chair, this concludes my institutional highlights.
Thank you very much. I want to thank all 4 chancellors for continuing to provide us with the points of pride. It's very important for us. I know it's important for you as well. And it helps us to brag about Rutgers, which is something we just love to do. I'm going to say, before I ask for any other old business, I'm going to remind us that we have a tour of the one-stop facility here at Rutgers Newark, and that will start right after this meeting is closed. For those of you who would like to attend, that's wonderful. I will. And Latoya Battle Brown will be our escort for this, and she'll be anxiously awaiting our lining up in droves behind her to do the tour. Is there any other old business? Is there any new business that anyone has to bring before the board? In that case, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. And seconded? All in favor? I'm not even going to ask for opposed. Meeting is adjourned.
Good job, Mr. Chair.
No.
See you.
I need to get my language correct. We're dealing with resolutions that are being endorsed.
That's certainly a.
Or being
Yes,
consented to. I gotta get that right. I stumbled.
That's what my brother says
Get it right
about
next
his
fall.
undergrad experience.
Although San Diego State is, so was,
Mike's off for whatever your Saturday, no, I don't want to do that shit, that works. And then Saturday is the Bill Plumber Cop Conference. Are you going to that? No, listen, that too. It's that's the Black Alumni Network in Douglas. And, we have the head of the Girl Scouts is oh, for New Jersey, yeah, so it's like a combo, African American History Month / Women's History.
Thank you for telling. Thank you, appreciate it.
Love you.
Still want to get our own. Still want to give it to the state.